Since safety issue question has been asked, so we have a member of parliament here from Brampton. Can anyone comment on the rise in crime? Because along with the transit, we have many other crimes for which residents are very, very worried. Still, the things, carjackings are happening, the home invasions crimes are happening. There is a talk, as Mayor also mentioned, in the province also we asked the same, when we can change the criminal code, or what is the solution to tackle this crime, because transitors or riders, they are across the city, they need safety. Thank you.
I'm happy to let a colleague speak to this as well, but I would say two things. One, just in answer to the public safety issue on transit, one nice thing about the baseline stream when we're investing capital dollars and supporting transit networks is it frees up dollars for transit networks and commissions to look at applying resources elsewhere. Look, resources are spread thin, and the more that the feds can step in, the more that they can look at taking issues like safety more seriously with resources. On the question of crime specifically, at the federal level, there are a few things to say. One, if there's a particular criminal code amendment that people are saying this should be a crime and isn't a crime, of course the federal government is seized with this. Safety is a top priority. But at the end of the day, what are the real challenges we're seeing? It is, the number of police officers, it is backlogs in the courts, and it is ultimately we don't have enough judges, and the court system is incredibly constrained. And all of those things land at the feet of Doug Ford. I know he's got an election right now, but all of those things, he can point fingers wherever he likes. All of those things are provincial responsibility. Our responsibility is to make sure the laws are fit for purpose. On bail reform is just as an example. When the chiefs of police came to us and said, here are the measures we want to see in a reform bill. They were put into a reform bill when we passed the bail reform bill. So if there's an opportunity to strengthen the laws to make sure we're taking crime and public safety more seriously, we are going to work with partners to do just that. But we got to look where the problems lie, and the problems ultimately land at the feet of the province. And I wish they would take action instead of pointing fingers.
I'll just add one thing in, and that is one request we made of the federal government was for scanners when it came to the intermodal hubs in Vaughan and in Brampton, because that was the third largest revenue tool for organized crime in Canada. $2 billion a year. I'm pleased to share that after Dominic LeBlanc's visit, we now have 2 scanners for the intermodal hubs. We're seeing a decline in auto thefts. There's still work to be done, but it's encouraging to see that trend line change. If we're taking away money from organized crime, that affects everything else, break and enters and other criminal incidents that you spoke of. Our police are still advocating for additional measures on bail reform, but those conversations are happening right now, and I'm sure there'll be additional times for advocacy on that point. But I would say the container scanners are making a big difference.
If I just may add to that, and I just want to echo both what Minister Orkney-Smith and Mayor Patrick Brown talked about. But when it comes to public safety, this has been a top priority for all levels of governments. We have been working diligently to make sure that our communities are safe. I want to talk particularly on the auto theft. It's the leadership of the federal government that actually brought together held the Auto Theft Summit in Ottawa to bring together experts. Our city mayor, our police forces were well represented alongside other members to make sure what are some of the things that we can do together. And one of the things we talked about, and Mayor has pointed out too, the fact that there was a scanner that was actually presented at the Brampton City Intermodal that existed before. And guess what? It was under the Harper Conservative governments that actually cut funding for those. $300 million that they took away from our CBSA to take away, the diligent workers to make sure the officers were there. We actually reinvested back into the CBSA. We actually put forward the scanners back at the intermodal to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to make sure we do bring down auto theft in our communities, and we've actually seen some really incredible numbers, and we know there's more to do. But this is about collaboration, working alongside our community members, and I will tell you, our members of parliament and Team Brampton has been working diligently with our community members, as well as the Peel Regional Police, as well as the Mayor Patrick Brown and the entire team, to make sure we leave no stone unturned when it comes to the safety of Canadians, particularly our community members, and we'll continue to do this work. Thank you.
Why don't province and federal sit together and give a confidence to the Canadians or Ontarians or Brantonians because they believe the province what they said, they believe what federal said, but there is a big disconnect because the crime is there in both the sides, and Mayor Brown was the biggest advocate in this. Smallest example, that biggest gold heist happened in Pearson Airport, and one person who flew to America, he's into jail for last 2 years. Other 5 here, they are out on bail, and the guy who is in US, his bail amount is $1 million that the honorable judge kept, and he is still behind the bars. He never got a bail, and our people here, they are out on bail. So Mayor was the biggest advocate into this. Mayor, we would like to hear from you also. Thank you.
I believe every level of government has a role to play in addressing this. And I know residents are concerned about public safety. I hear it. I had a town hall that I was at, hosted by Councillor Paleshi and Brewer last week, where I got more than an earful about public safety concerns. Locally, it's our job to provide the resources for policing, and I feel that we could have done better over the last number of years, and we're trying to address that. Provincially, the funding of the court system that is overburdened is a provincial responsibility, and then, of course, the criminal code being federal. Sometimes you see the different levels of government point fingers, and what we're going to try to do in Brampton is just to get everyone together, because we believe the only way we're going to solve this is if everyone steps up. But I would say today's announcement is not about public safety. We don't have the Minister of Justice visiting or the Minister of Public Safety, who I'm sure would love to talk about those areas. This is about $106 million for public transit, which is phenomenal news for the city of Brampton. So I don't want to lose sight for why we're all gathered here today. It's a significant commitment to enhance public transit, something that we know Bramptonians care deeply about.
And I would only add, because I agree, we got to work across party lines and we got to work across orders of government to make sure public safety is a priority. I would just add, in terms of the role, so everyone understands, the federal government's role is to make sure the laws are fit for purpose, and then it's the courts and the police, and that's the responsibility of the province, they apply those laws. And when you look at concerns in particular instances, unless you can track back to the law being the problem, and generally speaking, the law itself is not the problem, it's the application of the law in particular instances. And so that's just, everyone at home should know that the federal government is responsible for creating laws on the criminal code side, and when it comes to bail, and it's the province's job for making sure that the application of those laws through the courts and through police are running as efficiently and as appropriately as they can, and that's where I think things are breaking down on that latter side.